Hello, and welcome to episode 122 of Daryl Show Your Work. All right, so since in my last video, I decided to touch a bit on Nmap. Decided to continue with that overall theme, and in this episode, I'll be going over vulnerability scanning with Nmap scripts. All right, so again, this is still just in the enumeration phase, so no need to preface this video with a disclaimer. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is conduct my discovery, and let's see what my IP address is. And so I'm gonna do an ifconfig since I'm in a Linux environment. All right, move this over here. All right, and so we can see that since I'm in Ethernet 1, we can see that my IP address is 192.118.172.2. All right, so I'm gonna copy that. All right, and then I'm going to conduct a ping sweep here to see who else is active on my local network here. So then I can decide which host to potentially target. All right, so in order to do that, I'm going to use fping. Say fping -a -g. All right, then I'm going to change this 2 here to a 024, so then I can send an ICM P package to all the machines on my local network, and whoever's up and running will send me a response back. All right, so as usual, 1, 2, and 3 are up, 1 being the gateway, 2 being myself, and 3 being our unlucky target host. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to be able to I want to run a service scan and an operating system discovery scan on our target, just to see what ports are open before I could do any sort of vulnerability enumeration here. First, I have to know what protocols and what services are available to target. All right, so I'm gonna start with the Nmap scan. No scripts yet, just a simple version scan and a operating system discovery scan. And change this 2 to a 3 since that's our target host. All right, let's see what ports are open. All right, so we can see that we have port 80 open, which runs HTTP by default, and they are running an Apache, looks like an Apache server 2.4.6. So let's take a visit there just to see what's running on that at that location. All right, let's change that 2 to a 3. All right, so we can see there is indeed a web page here that's being hosted by a web server, and it looks like it's currently under construction. It has a countdown going on. All right, so now that I know that, let's see. The next thing I want to do is I want to show how we can. I kind of hinted at this in my last video, but if I wanted to show a complete list of the um, different scripts, Nmap scripts that can be ran. All right, I'll just do list all user share Nmap and scripts, and I'm not going to pipe any particular term. I just wanted to show that that complete list which is very long. All right, so you can see a lot. It's in alphabetical order too. All right, so a lot of different options here. So let's say since we know that our target is running the HTTP protocol, has that port open. Now I could go and do the pipe grep HTTP, and this should just reduce the list to all Nmap scripts that have the HTTP protocol in its name. All right, and we see everywhere where that's listed that it has HTTP highlighted in red. Um, go up a little bit. All right. not going to touch on. I was going to touch on something, but I don't. I think I'm gonna hold off before touching on that. So the next thing, let's say we did want to use a script to be able to see what services are running specifically on port 80. All right, so I'm gonna scroll up here. One thing I am going to touch on, scrolling up. This is still in alphabetical order. Everything following HTTP is in alphabetical order. So I'm going to run this script here, this HTTP enumeration script, and what this script is going to do is basically tell me what services are running on port 80. All right. So again, it should give me that same information that I got when I ran it, when I ran that service scan. But I just want to show the what results we get if we were to run this script and just show the various options you have. So I'm gonna do another service scan here, but this time I'm gonna just specify port 80. All right, and then I'm gonna say script equals HTTP, and it was called http-enum. All right, then I want to tell it where to aim that at. All right, so we're gonna aim that at the target host, and I should be good to go. So let's see what Nmap comes back with once I run this script. And it should come back with the same exact information that I did when I ran it without the script. But this is specifically for enumerating the HTTP protocol. All right, we can see here that it gives me that information, that same Apache HTTPD version .2.4.6. All right, so that's how we can do that same type of enumeration just using a Nmap script. Now, moving on to the actual vulnerability detection. So I'm going to run that same list all command, but this time instead of saying HTTP, I'm gonna search for vuln. All right, so anything that has vuln in it, which is short for vulnerability, that I want to get a complete list of that and be able to choose different scripts based upon my desire to scan for vulnerabilities. All right, so we have quite a few options here. So if we look, here's the thing I wanted to point out. So we could see here after the in the latter part of the script name, you have your Microsoft ID. So we know that these are where we say like MS06-25, for example, anywhere where we say MS and a number, those are Microsoft IDs. So we know those are specifically targeting Microsoft platforms, and then SMB2 lets us know that too. So we have Samba, which lets us know that this is Linux based, where SMB we know is Microsoft based, and then we can see here that we also have those that target specific CVE. So if there's a specific CVE that we're trying to exploit, and we know that a particular version of a service is associated with that CVE, then we could choose that whatever relevant CVE here um, um, to run against that service as far as trying to exploit it, or not trying to exploit, excuse me, as far as trying to look for it. All right, so we suspect if we see that version, suspect that there's a vulnerability there, we want to verify that, we will run this as far as detecting that vulnerability, and then we use something, let's say like a metasploit, to then actually do the exploitation. Or we could also use searchsploit to once we find that exploitation, we can then use searchsploit to look for an actual um, exploit module to run against that vulnerability that's found. All right, so now that we have a list here, if I go up a little bit, let's see, this should be in alphabetical order. Uh, it's not necessarily giving me the what I'm looking for. All right, so let's say there's a specific vulnerability that I'm looking for because this list isn't necessarily telling me. So I'm going to use the shell shock vulnerability. All right, and I've done a video regarding this. All right, so a lot of the steps moving forward, all of this may look very familiar, but wanted to just focus on specifically on how we can use Nmap uh, to um, to find vulnerabilities and not focusing so much on the exploit itself, but I am going to be using it as an example. So couldn't find on the list here, but let's say that I want to find a particular vulnerability. So I'll say shell shock and see if there is a script here that specifically looks for the shell shock vulnerability. All right, and there is. All right, so um, not sure. I can't remember what that CVE number. I mean, it could be listed by the CVE here, but as far as one that has shell shock in the actual naming convention of this script, this one does. All right, so I'm going to choose this one. All right, so in order to use this, I'm gonna go back to my previous command, and we're going to just substitute here where we have http enum, and I'm going to replace enum with shell shock. And let's see what happens when I run that. All right. Let's see if that we can find that vulnerability when targeting uh, port 80 here. All right, so it really didn't give me any other new information, but there's some things that we can look for or further enumerate here on the actual web page that I went to. All right, so we can see that it's under construction. So if I right click this, there we go. I don't know why it was reacting so slow. All right, and go to view page source. All right, there's something looking at the markup language here. There's something that I want to focus on. All right, and that's this get time CGI. All right, so clearly this site is using a CGI script. What CGI scripts are, they're used to execute system commands on server or operating systems that's running the web that's running the web server, and then redirects or displays the output to the website itself. All right, so I want to be able to see that hey, is basically it's the use of this CGI script vulnerable. All right, so the way that I can begin to test that is I want to go see if I can isolate this from the code. So we see a gettime.cgi. So let's see if there's a separate directory for that actual file, since we know that's how it works. It works by being hosted by itself and then displayed on the web page. So let's see. Yep. All right. So it does have its own directory. So I'm going to actually add this directory here to the as an argument to the command to look for a shell shock vulnerability. All right. So I'm gonna go back. All right. So I'm gonna make some adjustments here. All right. So I'm gonna leave everything else the same, but I'm gonna add an argument. So I'm gonna say dash dash. Let's say it's script dash args. All right. And then a quote, and I want to say I want to specify HTTP dash shell shock uh, dot URI. All right, and I want to say that that's equal to, and I'm gonna give it the actual um well, I don't want to give it that whole thing, the actual directory that I wanted to look at to see if this particular file is vulnerable to shell shock. All right. All right, so let's end the quotes after this. All right, and then I already have the IP address here that I want to target. So let me just make sure that everything here is good to go as far as syntax. All right, so let's run that and let's see what happens. All right, let's see. No, let me see. It seems like it's not picking it up. Let me look at my syntax here again, because it may not like something I had wrote. Script. Okay, I see. I didn't specify. Okay, okay, I see. I need to specify it at the actual directory, identifying it as a directory. There we go, by giving it that slash. Okay, now let's try this again. There we go. All right. So now that it looked in that actual directory, so now it's coming back and let me know if it's vulnerable, and it says state vulnerable exploitable. All right. So it's letting me know, and then it's giving me the CVE number, and then it's describing right here and with the CVE number what the vulnerability is. So that's a way in which we can, again, just using the shell shock example, this is a way that we can search for vulnerabilities or scan for vulnerabilities using Nmap. All right, so we had to take kind of an additional step here with this example, since when running the vulnerability scan script. To begin with, we couldn't immediately find it, but once I did a bit digging, a bit more digging, and found that CGI script, and then aimed at the scan towards that, then we were actually able to find the vulnerability. So it may not necessarily just because the first time the scan may not come back as something being vulnerable. It's always should require you to do a bit more digging, and just to make sure that that you're basically finding every possible attack vector that you can aim the scan at, to ensure that it's either free of the exploit, or that the exploit is there, depending on whether you're blue or red team, whether or not this is something that you need to patch, or whether or not this is something that you need to further see is exploitable, and then to report it. All right, so that brings me to the end of my video. Again, the purpose of this video is to show at a very high level how we can use Nmap to do what Nmap scripts to scan for vulnerabilities, and how we can get a full list of those vulnerability scanners, and then how we can target specific hosts as far as identifying if they are indeed vulnerable to the or at least if we could find identify those vulnerabilities when aiming the scans at them. So please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, show your work. Until next time, take care of yourself, and God bless.